All right. Look at us. Brand new episode. FanAddicts MMA Show. I am your host, Erica Lewis. I am the hostess with the mostest. I am joined by one of my co-hosts at the very minimum. I have Justin Cohe on here with me. Justin, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine.
Awesome sauce. We're still having problems getting David on here, huh?
Seems to be.
Oh, boy. Well, we'll get him on here eventually. I know he was having some computer problems, so hopefully we'll get him on here sooner rather than later. According to our new Dom, our director of marketing, we need to start announcing what the date is on our podcast. So today is Friday this is why we don't do it. Friday the 15th of June 2012. My birthday is in 4 days, and Cohe's birthday is in 8 days. So we expect money. What else do we want, Cohe? Money.
Nice dinners.
Nice dinners, bitches. I think bitches. We can put bitches on there.
Yeah, bitches.
You know, I wouldn't mind a bigger TV.
I would also like a crab feast.
A crab feast, yes. And the Maryland crab kind, not the you need to get a topical cream kind, right?
Yeah, that would be gross.
That'd be preferable to get the. I just had crabs the other day. They were awesome. They're so good. If you're not,
so you can probably get the bad crabs in Maryland as well.
Yes, you can. Yes, Maryland does also have the bad crabs. Although I think Baltimore is probably a good place to go if you really want to get the good kind. All right, so
I see, baby. I see.
So today we are expecting a call from John Cofer and Vinc Pichel. Both of them were contestants on this past season of The Ultimate Fighter Live, and we will be talking about The Ultimate Fighter in detail. There have been some changes made. Again, actually, I like to prefer to call them as unchanges. Made to The Ultimate Fighter, and we'll talk to them about that as soon as they call in. Until then, you can talk to us via Twitter at FightFansRadio or at FanAddicts MMA, or you can tweet Justin personally, his new fandangled Twitter handle being Justin Cohe FFR for Fight Fans Radio. So hit us up on Twitter. We will also, let me see, what else can I say? Oh, yeah, just so you guys know, all of our shows are available. All of Fight Fans Radio shows are available on YouTube. They are available on iTunes, and we just got accepted to Stitcher.com. We had some questions about being available there, and apparently Stitcher is the shit. And you can download on any kind of mobile device. You download on any tablet and listen to our shows on demand. So really looking forward to seeing how that branches out moving forward for the Fanatics and for Fight Fans Radio. So real quick, probably the thing that you sent, the message you sent me right before we went on air was the signing of oh my God,
Paul Daly to Bellator.
Paul Daly to Bellator. Justin, in your opinion, is that a good move for both Bellator and for Paul Daly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Daly recently got released from the Strikeforce contract. Going off on 2 losses in a row. Didn't look great in the last fight against Tyron Woodley. We didn't really expect him to go back to the UFC due to that sucker punch incident he had with Koscheck a ways back. So I think this is a good fit for him. I think the level of competition is in Bellator is probably a spot where he can shine. That being said, if he hopes to get to the tournament finals at 170 in Bellator, that means he'd have to face someone like Ben Askren, which we all know Paul Daly is not the greatest ground specialist in the world. So
no, they don't match up too well on paper, do they?
No, I think Paul Daly's got a ways to go before we start thinking about a title shot with him. Because 170 in Bellator is actually a pretty decent weight class.
Yeah.
So you got guys like Ben Saunders there, and Ben Saunders can't even get to the finals, and everyone expected him to just tear through the competition. But yeah, I think it's a good signing. I think it gives Bellator another name that isn't Brett Rogers. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Bellator is making some pretty decent moves here and there. I think Paul Daly's a good signing for them.
Yeah, I have to agree with your assessment for the most part. Paul Daly, after 2 losses in Strikeforce and not really having a really great relationship with Dana White and Zuffa, I don't think it should have been really all too much of a surprise to anybody that he was let go from his Strikeforce contract. Now he'll be pursuing something in Bellator. Bellator will at least allow him to fight. If he's in the tournament, he'll at least get a chance to fight more often, which was one of the things that he said after he was released from Strikeforce, is that, he says it was mutual, that, they weren't giving him the fights that he wanted, or enough fights, which I think pretty much every Strikeforce fighter is complaining about right now. They don't have fights. And, Bellator, in the tournament, he'll definitely get that. I mean, it's... I don't know if Paul Daly would be able to handle that kind of schedule. It's almost like going from one extreme to the other, from having no fights at all to having to fight, several times in a very short span. But I think he'll do rather well. I agree with you. I think he'll do pretty well. He'll have some highlight KOs. I'm sure Bellator will set him up against fighters that will kind of feed into that for him. Probably give him a little name other than Brett Rogers, the wife beater.
What a piece of shit he is.
Say what?
I said, what a piece of shit he is.
Yeah, it's just I don't even know how to even address that. I mean, the fact that do I really think the man should be blacklisted from MMA for beating on his wife? If I say no, I sound kind of like an asshole. I don't know. I don't know how to.
Well, I mean, it's not even the fact that he smacked around his wife a little bit. Like, he held her down and grabbed her hair and really put the boots to her, sort of thing, and did it in front of his kids. Like, that's what's just absolutely unbelievable in the whole situation.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really ugly situation, and there seems to be a lot of combat sports people in ugly situations right now, and we'll definitely get into that in a little bit. Okay.
I will say that I'm seeing on Twitter right now that the next, or I guess it'll be the 5th show on Fuel for the UFC, which I believe is going to be the one that's heading to England and Nottingham, is going to be headlined by Stipe Miocic versus Stefan Struve.
Oh, yeah. And I've heard that the Brits aren't too happy about that.
I mean, as soon as you hear those, the next, UFC on Fuel is coming to your area, I mean, you can't get too excited about it because no one's good, 100,000 people are going to watch it, so why are you going to waste, good talent on it? I mean, I do believe Dan Hardy and Brad Pickett are both going to be on the card, and I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Fast is as well. So, I mean, you have a relevant main event with a couple of exciting fighters, and, you'll have some of Britain's favorite UFC fighters, but, if they're going to, piss and moan that, the cards in the UK have been faltering, I believe that not many people have been watching the cards in the UK as much. I mean, it's pretty run-of-the-mill for foreign cards to not do as well, unless it's one of the Brazil cards where it's absolutely stacked.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I don't even think that the attendance was doing too well for the past couple of UK cards either. So it's what's that is, especially with the Fuel card. And it's we'll just put a few British people on there. We'll get our usual 100 to 150K viewers, and that'll be it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's been kind of unfortunate. All right, who are we talking to right now?
This is John Cofer.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Cofer? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. So right now we have John Cofer from this past season, The Ultimate Fighter, on with us live right now. Great to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on and just talking with us. And we're really excited. Really excited about having you on, especially since you're so fresh off the season. It's unlike any other season where, at this point, if we had somebody on from a past season, it'd been 3 months since they were actually in the house. But it wasn't that long ago that you were in the house. Your freedom is relatively brand new right now. So how are you enjoying that, first of all?
I'm enjoying it a lot. To be honest with you, it was a little anticlimactic.
Oh.
You get out and you're expecting all this stuff, and then as far as like talking to your friends and talking back home, and you want to hear about what's going on, but then all they want to do is hear about what you've been doing.
Yeah, I can imagine that gets old real quick.
Do what?
I said, imagine that gets old real quick.
Yeah, you got to tell the same story over and over again. In fact, I kept a journal. I told my parents and family just to read that, and it'll get everything they need to know.
That was a great idea. Absolutely was. And you're on with me and my co-host, Justin Cohee. Justin, say hi.
What's up, John?
What's up, Justin?
So, I think one of the things that we were most excited about talking with you about, and we'll try not to have you rehash too many of your stories from being on the Ultimate Fighter.
I was joking. I still like talking about it. Sorry.
I mean, you were on TV. You're more famous than any of us. That's for damn sure. So how
I don't know about that.
Well, but how is that? I mean, at this point, you were on, a major network. You were on television. Have you experienced anything that's different than from before you went into the house? I mean, do people recognize you on the street now? Are you getting more calls? How's that working out?
At a bar or something like that, a few folks will come up to me, but I mean, I don't think I was a big player in that show. You look at the guys that made it a little bit further, like Mike and Al and even James Vic and Vinc Pichel. I'm sure they had a little more notoriety than the rest of us, but every now and then I'll get recognized and get to talk to folks like y'all on the radio and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's all pretty much the same. Going to the fights, we went to the fight, the Mir Dos Santos fight, and that was actually the day we got out of the house, or the following day, and that was pretty crazy. But then again, we're around nothing but fight fans, so we got rushed a lot with pictures and autographs and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun, needless to say, though.
Well, that's good. At least you had fun. It'd be awful to have like a shitty experience at the house. And I'm glad you.
No, it was a great experience. Great experience.
So, tell me about your growth since being in the house. Do you feel like it is a reality television show? At the end of the day, it's a reality television show. But do you feel like it really benefited you as a fighter overall, being on The Ultimate Fighter?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, that was like a grueling 3-month training camp with some of the best guys, arguably in the world, all in one room. I mean, the team itself, the team favorite, all of us. That's a tough room in itself, and then you got Uriah Faber, who brings in guys from his camp. Guys like Chad Mendez and Joey Benavidez, Danny Castile, Justin Buckles. I mean, talk about a hell of a room. Every round you go is a barn burner. There is no off round, and then you're testing yourself every day. So I feel like I definitely improved as a fighter. Absolutely.
So let me ask you this, and I feel like this is pertinent because you brought up the fact that every sparring session is a barn burner. And there's been a lot of talk about the injuries happening, especially on major cards for the UFC, especially. And people are trying to find reasons why this seems to be happening, why it seems to be an accelerated process right now. And it could be a combination of things. It could be the fact that there are more cards, so we notice the injuries more. But it definitely seems like a lot of headliners are falling through due to injury. Do you think having training camps where they are barn burners are having an effect on that? Do you think that maybe guys are training too hard for fights and therefore injuring themselves? Vitor Belfort broke his hand in training. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's just sort of the nature of the beast. That's the way this sport is. And those are just the injuries you hear about. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I don't think many fighters go into a fight feeling 100%. I think you're always going to have some sort of injury or nagging problem. But yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, even on the smaller shows, the local cards, the ones that we don't hear about or maybe not really care as much about, there's injuries on those too. So of course it's going to be at the bigger level too. It's just how it goes.
Okay, I mean, you know, that I like hearing your perspective on that because you know there's definitely a lot of speculation going around about you know why these injuries seem to be so devastating right now, especially to the UFC's major cards. I mean, like I said, Vitor Belfort is out. You know, we've lost. Justin, help me out here. Who else have we lost? We've lost a bunch of people.
Cruz towards ACL.
Oh yes, Cruz. That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, Cruz towards ACL. Michael Bisping is out as well at the moment.
Yeah, Brian Stan
yeah, that was a big one.
You know, it's heartbreaking for fans, you know, because we get so pumped up, we get so ready, and I think at some point as fans we forget that you guys are human beings, and that you know, if we cut you, you bleed. You know, if we tickle you, you giggle. So
I think we forget. I think we forget that too.
that may be so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we think we can run through walls and we're invincible, but yeah, that's just part of it. I mean, people get hurt. I mean, whatever's happening right now, I think it's just coincidence that you know, like you say. In fact, I hadn't even really thought about it until you brought it up. But yeah, when you bring it up, there has been several big name injuries.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and you know, it's frustrating. You know, for everybody involved. You know, the UFC is scrambling to find replacements for what were supposed to be really huge fights. I mean, we look at UFC 147, which was supposed to be a huge card.
Aldo's another one that got hurt, right?
Yeah, I mean, first off, they moved Silva off the card for. I mean, Dana White gave reasons. I don't know. Whatever the reasons were, they moved Silva off that card, and now it's 148. And then it was supposed to be headlined by Belfort and Silva, and then, of course, Belfort is out. And, you know, the card went from being really highly anticipated to being kind of eh. So, you know, those injuries have really just kind of taken its toll on everything. Let's go back talking about The Ultimate Fighter real quick. You know, so I don't know how much you've been paying attention. Well, first off, have you actually had a chance to watch the season that you were on? Like, have you had a chance to sit down and see what everybody else saw?
Nah, I haven't watched a single bit of it, actually. I watched, I don't know. I watched a little bit of my fight, but I didn't actually watch the show itself with Pichel. And I did watch my fight with Justin Lawrence, you know, on the finale, but that's the only thing I've watched. I'm probably not going to watch it, to be honest. Maybe like years down the road.
And is that just because, you know, is it one of those, it's weird seeing yourself on TV kind of things, or you just not interested?
Just
a little bit from my comment.
I don't want to make it sound like, I guess I just don't really, I don't want to go back and watch it again. I lived it, you know? And I don't know. It don't really. It's just I'd rather watch the news or ESPN or something.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, I'm not sure how much you you know, peruse the MMA news websites, but they did announce that the next season of The Ultimate Fighter will not be taped live. That they're going.
Yeah, I heard that. I actually found that out through Twitter.
So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, since you, like you said, you were the guy that lived the live season. You know, the ratings for the season were not the greatest, but I don't think that was the fault of anybody actually on the show. Friday nights are just shitty nights for television. I mean, it's always been that way.
People go out Friday night. They don't watch TV.
Especially the demographic the UFC is targeting. I mean, you know, you're trying to target, you know, 18 to 35-year-old males. They're not home on a Friday night. I'm home on a Friday night, but I'm not their demographic. So, you know, the ratings weren't everything that they thought it should be. So now they're going back to the pre-taped format, and I'm assuming that is, and Justin, and I think you and I talked about this a little bit. I'm assuming that's because they want to try and create more drama, be able to like manipulate film. They didn't really have that luxury with the live show. Is that what you think, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think they had a nice idea with having the fights live. So I think they wanted to give the the audience's feeling of a live fight, because people who read enough on the internet eventually get the results before the fight even happens. And, so it adds a nice mystique or a surprise when you actually get to see the fight, and you're going to be one of the, you're going to get to see the result like everyone else is going to get to see it.
Yeah.
But
I think it being live adds a certain special part to it, but I don't think people really care if it's live or not. I think they just want to see the fight and see the outcome. As long as it's new to them, I think they still get the same effect. And
right.
I just don't think they care that much about the live show.
I think we actually have.
And I think they had some issues getting the timing down too, which was really surprising to me, because I think some of the fights ended up going 10, 15 minutes over. And if you're trying to DVR that and come home, if your DVR cuts off, you don't get to see the fight.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge problem. I think we actually have David Wolf with us. David, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. So David Wolf is our other co-host. He was having Skype problems. Skype was being a racist bastard and not letting him talk with us. So we're good to have you, David.
Skype does sound a little anti-Semitic.
It does, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that's kind of
you
creepy.
Freaking Skype.
I'm going to actually start using it as a slur now. Thanks you so much, David, for that one. So, John, we've talked a lot about some of the changes they could make for the Ultimate Fighter here on the show, and a lot of shows have. A lot of MMA pundits and fans have talked about some things that they would change about the Ultimate Fighter, and again, since you lived it, on your end, do you see any places that you would at least be willing to vocalize that there could be improvement upon, or there were things that you think they didn't capitalize on during the show that you think fans would really enjoy seeing?
To me, it was a great experience. I felt like everything, one thing that was good about it is everything just seemed to run smoothly. I think everyone there just does an excellent job at what they do. So it was a great experience for us. So
right.
I'm not in the TV business, so I don't have a whole lot of know-how about how things like that work. I think, and this is coming from what people have talked to me about, they said that they actually wanted to see more of us inside the house. I think with that taped format, I think they show a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said earlier, it is a reality TV show, and it does have to do with fighting, and that is the main part. I think this past season, from what I've gathered from other people, is that they really focused on the fights, which to me is great. I thought it was a great idea. But I think just to the general viewer, I think they want to see the fights plus the reality show. They want to see what we're doing inside the house, if we're, what we're eating, or who's talking to who and who's arguing with who. And I don't think they showed a whole lot of that because of the way it was formatted this season, because they couldn't. And in fact, with that live season, by the time Thursday rolled around, in fact, I had heard that there was even a cutoff for the cameras. There'd be times we'd be in the van and there wouldn't even be a camera in the van once Wednesday night and Thursday rolled around. It's because they didn't need any more footage. But what's not to say that something interesting could have happened on those days too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the footage that we saw on the season all came from Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then it was kind of if something big happens, we'll try to catch it, but we're not going to worry too much about it.
That's interesting. I think that's really insightful.
I think part of the problem was that if they don't know who's winning, which they do when it's recorded, it's a little hard to push storylines. The Mike Chiesa storyline would have been fantastic, but I think the idea was that they didn't really think he was going to win the show. And nobody expected it to turn out that way, so they didn't focus on it like they could have had, in all previous seasons, everything's wrapped up, so they know which storylines to focus on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. Just knowing the outcome of everything almost gives you a cheat code to push the show the way you want it to go. So that's another benefit of probably having that taped format.
And I promise you, John, this will be one of two final questions about the Ultimate Fighter itself. But did you develop any lasting friendships off of the show? Was there somebody that you met while you were in the house that you didn't really you didn't know before you got there, and now they're your BFF?
Well, shoot, I didn't know anybody before the show. But I think one thing that made it such a good experience for me and my whole team when I say team, referring to Team Faber, is just how close we all were. All 8 of us are just, even though I only knew those guys for 3 months, I consider all 7 of those other guys, some of my best friends after what we went through and what we helped each other go through. I think we had such good relationships with each other. We were actually able to open up to each other. We could just the thing that a friend would do, and made it a great experience. As far as some of the guys in the red team, a lot of them were great guys. Some I talked to more than others. Sam Cecilia was another guy that I felt like I got really close with.
Yeah.
And became good friends with. He's probably the one I made the best friend with on the red team. But as far as Team Faber, I feel like all 8 of us just got along so good, and I hope I keep in contact with those guys for the rest of my life. And if you look at our threads on Twitter, I don't know how much y'all look at that or follow it. We're still making inside jokes to each other and tagging us all in it, and along with our coaches too. I made really good friends with the coaches as well. So, I said definitely good.
Are you going to train with any of those guys?
I'm leaving Athens, Georgia, in 2 weeks, and I'm headed out to Sacramento. I'm actually going to move out there for a little bit.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Not a bad place to move either, Sacramento. Come on now.
Yeah,
that's
I heard
nice.
It's beautiful. In fact, I've never even been to California, but I'm driving out there, so I'm on June 28th. I'm driving.
Okay, seriously, dude, you're driving cross country to
yeah.
California.
Actually, the whole cross country thing is something I wanted to do since I was about 18, but never had the means to do it, financially, or had the time to do it because I couldn't have taken off work or didn't want to miss training. Now I got the money to do it, the time to do it, and the reason to do it. So it's kind of like one of those bucket list things.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I heard some of those middle states might be kind of iffy, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I think just for the sake of irony, you need to stop and check out the world's largest thermometer, the world's largest ball of yarn while you're doing it.
I'm up for any ideas if anybody has them. As of right now, I'm stopping in Phoenix, Arizona to see some friends. I'm stopping in L.A. I'm actually going to go hang out with old Chris Saunders out there in L.A.
Oh, nice.
And I was thinking about hitting up part of the Grand Canyon, Big Bend, and I wanted to go kayaking through part of the canyon, or through part of the river there. But yeah, I'm up for any ideas.
It's funny. I lived in Arizona for 3 years, and I never went to see the Grand Canyon. I don't know what that was.
You didn't?
No. I got as far as the Painted Mountains in Sedona, and I was like, you know what? This is close enough. I don't know what that was.
Just something I want to do. I figure while I'm driving out there, I might as well check it out.
I imagine you'll have a lot of fun doing that. So just our marketing director, who is the one who actually contacted you about being on the show, she was adamant that I ask you about the tattoo on your inner bicep. She wanted to know what it meant.
It's Faber calls it the forbidden fruit, which I guess is kind of what it is. It's an apple with lips on it. Like the Eve in the Garden of Good and Evil eating the forbidden fruit.
Oh, nice. I like that.
So, but that's not really what it means to me. For me, it just means chasing after the forbidden. I don't know. I don't put a whole lot of thought into a lot of my tattoos.
That's awesome, man. That is so awesome. If for anybody who's following you on Twitter, it's a Cofer Pottery on Twitter. So at Cofer Pottery, COFERPOTTERY. Why Cofer Pottery?
I'm a self-proclaimed Southern folk potter. I make and sell Southern folk pottery.
That is pretty. That's pretty fucking awesome.
Sell them at art shows and out of the trunk of my car, and I just started out as a hobby, and I started selling them and making a little money doing it. So anything to make a buck, I reckon.
Sam, you're he's like a warrior poet kind of thing. It's like, I make pottery and then I fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That is awesome. I really like that. So, how long have you actually been doing the pottery?
Not even that long. Maybe about 2 years. I piddled with it a lot when I was younger, but never really got into that serious. I've done a lot of art type stuff. I was always big into art, and sort of got into pottery about 2 years ago, and then just kind of took it all the way. I saved up some money and bought a studio. I bought a kiln and a wheel, and started doing it myself, and really started selling a lot more. And I've actually already made some phone calls trying to see, because I'm not obviously I can't take a whole studio up to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Like I have here in Georgia, but I found a community studio that I can work out of up there. So I'm gonna see if I can still sell some of my pots up in California.
I mean, you're the guy who's selling pot out in California, and it's not what everybody thinks it should be. So.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if somebody wants...
Did I hear pot?
David's favorite activity. So John, if somebody wanted to buy your pottery, is there a way to do it on the internet? Do you have like an eBay page or anything?
I don't have a website or anything. I'd like to get that up one day, but I mean, keep in mind, I've done this I'm making a little bit here and there. I've never had a whole lot to really, garnish out. But I've actually, since I got off the show, I've had some people hit me up on Twitter, and then I've just gotten some addresses from them, and I've mailed out some pots.
Be prepared, because we have dozens and dozens of listeners.
We're going to encourage all of them to tweet you their addresses to get pottery.
Yeah, in fact, you could if you look on Twitter, you can see some pictures of some of the stuff I've made. Give you kind of an idea of what I make. It's mostly just like whiskey jugs, vases, butter churns.
Did someone say whiskey?
Type stuff. Huh?
I said, did someone say whiskey?
and now we've
potheads and alcohol.
You called me, and all we talked about is pot and whiskey.
I love it. That's awesome. So, so if somebody's interested in purchasing, because I think our marketing director was definitely very interested in purchasing some of your pottery, so I'll let her know to send you another message over Twitter about.
I'll buy some of
that. Oh yeah. Now, what I make the most of and what I sell the most of, they're called. Where are y'all from?
I'm from Maryland, and these two guys are from Virginia. David's in D.C.
Yeah, but I grew up in Jersey.
Well, the big thing around here, they're face jugs. They're just whiskey jugs with like a face on them, and that's what I sell the most and make the most of. Kind of hard to explain, but it's just.
I used to live in North Carolina and would see quite a bit of that stuff.
Yeah. It's just sort of a Southern tradition. That's what I make the most of. I mean, I make all sorts of stuff. But,
well, lucky for me, I'm right in front of my computer. I can look up some face jugs. I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, that is just freaking creepy and awesome at the same time.
Oh, they're super ugly. But that's the point.
that is some creepy ass bullshit. But I want one so bad now.
Yeah, be careful Googling jugs on the internet.
Oh yeah. I gotta make sure. Porn.
That's what you gotta do if you're an artist and you're not a very good artist. Just call it folk art, and then all of a sudden it's amazing.
I think that's a fantastic plan. I like that. I might actually start doing that. Just make some ugly ass shit and call it folk art. But these are actually really cool looking, and definitely looking forward to seeing more of your artwork. Again, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. Again, if you want to follow John on Twitter, it's John Cofer, and it's John. Wait a minute, no, it's Cofer Pottery. Sorry, it's COFERPOTTERY. And you also have a Facebook page. I don't know if you want everybody to know your Facebook page, but
yeah, I do. I got a regular Facebook page and a fan page. So, I don't even know the website to it, but I'm sure if you Google me, or not Google me, but search it on Facebook. I don't know how many John Cofers out there are, but can't be too many of them.
752.
Oh, that would be creepy. Are you being serious, John?
No,
David. That there's 752, because that would be creepy. But it is.
Okay, well look for the ones that have a picture of someone fighting on them.
It's facebook.com/.
Now that you're on top, you probably have a lot of fake people claiming to be you here.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh, that's when
I caught a guy doing that with Dominic Cruz because he listed the wrong birthday.
Oh wow.
Do what?
Some guy created a fake account for Dominic like about a year ago, and he had the wrong birthday. because Wikipedia had the wrong birthday. And I was like, man.
Oh, that's all. Well, Cofer, you know you've made it when people are impersonating you on the internet. So we'll encourage all of our followers to do that as well.
I'm gonna go tell my mom, tell her I made it. Baby made it, Mama. Be proud. Someone's impersonating me.
Well, thanks again.
Hopefully this is the real John Cofer.
And I know you just fought on the finale. And congratulations on your win bonus. That was a hell of a fight. I don't know.
I wish I could have come out on the other side of that, but hell.
But you know what? You got to be proud of the fact that I don't think people were really giving you the credit that you deserved going into that fight, and you really gave Justin Lawrence a run for his money in those first 2 rounds. You really did. And I was very.
I should have given him a loss, but it didn't work out. So.
Well, I'm saying with a couple more wins up underneath your belt, maybe they'll give us a rematch of that because I would love to see that again.
Oh yeah. Actually, I've already spoke with Joe Silva, so I'm hoping to be. They're giving me another fight in the UFC.
Excellent.
I don't know when that'll be, but I'm hoping it'll be at 145.
I was about to ask. I was going to ask if you were going to go down the weight class.
Oh, so you?
No, I mean, I walk around at like 163, 64.
Right.
I was one of the smaller guys in the house, actually, and so yeah, I definitely am hoping that they'll let me drop down to 45.
Well, 145 needs people.
Yeah.
145 needs people. 155 doesn't. Seems like you'd have a better shot if you're willing to fight at 145. I would think.
Well, I'm hoping, I'm praying they let me fight at 45. So as of right now, it's just
it's so shallow. You would think that they'd bring whoever, any legitimate fighter they could bring into 145.
Yeah.
Right now, it's look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John, we won't hold you any longer. Thank you again for calling in, and I'll send you a Twitter message with the recorded version of the show so that you can retweet it to all of your followers.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it. It was fun talking to y'all.
All right, it was fun talking to you too,
Thanks,
man.
John.
Bye.
All right, y'all have a good one now.
That was excellent. That was John Cofer from the Ultimate Fighter, and we actually have another caller on the line. Caller, who are we talking to?
Vinc Pichel,
hey.
Cofer's worst nightmare.
Oh man, you should have come out with that from the gate. As soon as I answered the phone, you should have been like, Vinc Pichel, Cofer's worst nightmare. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing fairly well. Really excited to have you on here. We talked about a few things about the Ultimate Fighter with Cofer, but I'm interested to hear, your experiences in the house, and you were on Team Cruz. I think it's great that we had somebody who was on Team Faber and Team Cruz. So you were Team Cruz. How was your experience? I mean, did you come out of the Ultimate Fighter a better fighter than when you went in?
Yeah, I think so. A little smarter. I learned a lot, about myself, and obviously a lesson in fighting. So yeah, I mean, I think there was no really bad experience there. The only really bad experience you can have, on the show is obviously just losing. Other than that, it's all good, You just take it all in, just take it with stride, basically.
And you did really, really well on the show. I got to be honest with you, I was rooting for you every time you were up there, man. I really liked your personality. You really came across well. You're willing to stand up and bang, but you're able to get submissions at the same time. There's nothing us fans hate more than somebody who's like, I'll stand and bang, and the only reason they're saying that is because they can't do anything else. So you seem well-rounded. And
I got a very underrated ground game that people don't know about because, opponents usually don't make it that far. So
I like that, and confident. So, you got an opportunity to work with Dominic Cruz and Lloyd Irvin, probably one of the best, jiu-jitsu coaches, at least in the U.S. How was that? I mean, did you feel like you picked up a few tricks from, Dominic Cruz being such an elusive fighter on his feet, and then, Lloyd Irvin coming in with such a reputable jiu-jitsu game? How did that mesh together for you during training sessions?
I mean, it actually went together pretty well. I mean, Dominic and Lloyd are very smart, talented guys, and what they did, is they have their own style of things, and, everyone's got their own style. I have my own style. Each individual fighter has his own style, and what those two did, Lloyd and Dominic did, was basically kind of work with our own style and give us things that, that'll work well for us, And that's what I really liked is they didn't try to change us. They didn't try to say, you're fighting wrong. You need to fight like this. You need to, do the submission like that.
Yeah.
They basically just worked with how we were and made us a little better in our own aspect of how we fight. So, that was a big part of it. And, definitely a good experience with both those guys, learning from them. I try to pick their brains as much as I could. I have a little notebook from on the show that I kind of wrote everything down in, so I could always go back and review, if I feel like I'm sucking at something that they showed me. So it was awesome, unbelievable experience.
I can tell you right now that Lloyd Irvin absolutely loved that, because I know for all of his schools and all of his students, they highly encourage that you bring a notebook and you take notes, and they love it when you do that. So I know Lloyd had to have loved the fact that you were taking notes. You were scheduled to fight James Vic on the finale, but he couldn't do the finale because he was suspended due to fighting. Do you know when you'll actually get the opportunity to fight for the UFC? Any idea when that date may be? What card that might be?
I wanna say hopefully by the end of the year maybe get something. We're just about halfway.
Right.
And I'm taking, I'm gonna take like a month off from even fighting. I'm still going to the gym right now, like a couple times a week, just to keep myself from getting too fat and bloated. But hopefully I can get something by the end of the year or beginning of the year. They basically told me, take a vacation. We know you need it. Heal up with your body, kind of recuperate from the whole ordeal, and give them a call, let them know when I'm back in the gym and ready to fight, and, they'll set me up. So it's kind of up in there right now, there's nothing for certain, but, just as soon as I get back in that gym, I'm going to give them a call, especially Joe Silva, and let them know I'm ready to fight, and we'll see where it goes.
That's, and I'm really looking forward to that, and that's excellent. So, wow, maybe I should not drink before I get on here. We just got finished talking about, what did we talk about with Cofer? We talked about pot and whiskey. That was a nice little chunk of our conversation.
Nice.
Although not the right kind of pot. We were talking about his pottery. Did you guys know that on the show that Cofer made pottery?
Oh yeah, when I was actually scheduled to fight him, they said something to me about it and told me that they try to fish me into talking shit about it. So I definitely knew that, and by his Twitter handle, Cofer Pottery, I'm pretty sure that you had some kind of hand in it.
Did he get any ribbing from? I mean, I can't imagine that nobody that none of you guys gave him a little bit of shit for it. You had to give him a little bit of shit, even good-natured shit.
Honestly, I only really gave him shit about. I only talked to him really after our fight. I didn't talk to him before our fight, but after our fight, I was talking a little shit to him about grabbing the cage when I lifted him, and then I was making fun of him because he had black eyes for like 3 weeks. So that was about it. I didn't say too much about his pottery business.
Now, you said something that they were telling you to to kind of get. Someone was telling you to kind of use the pottery thing to to bring about some trash talk. Was that the producers telling you, or just like the coaches and other fighters?
I don't know, like the producers. They're like, because they know the kind of person I am is like, if you tell me something I can't do it, I'm going to go out and fight anyway, or they say, oh, this guy does this. They're kind of itching me to say something about it, obviously, because they know the kind of person I am. Because I'll say something regardless of what people like kind of feel or think about me. I'm me, so I'm going to say something. But they're like, yeah, you're fighting Cofer. They're like, Cofer does pottery. What do you got something to say about that? I'm like, all right, what do you want to hear? Cofer should have stuck to pottery? Like, what am I supposed to say about that,
I think that's funny. I think that's hilarious that they were trying to do that.
Yeah. That was actually the only time that they even tried to fish something like that on us, which is because reality shows are like scripted a lot, and people are kind of dating the same things, or certain situations are presented by the producers and stuff. But that was the only time it really happened on the show.
So when we talked to Cofer and we asked him about his experience, he also spoke very highly about his experiences on The Ultimate Fighter. But he said he has not actually watched any of it other than snippets of his fights. Have you actually watched any of the show itself, or
Yeah, I actually did. I just finished watching the finale about an hour ago. I didn't watch the finale fights. I just saw every other episode. It's a little weird watching it, you know. It's kind of like reliving it. And it seems like it was so long ago, but it was only, 2 weeks ago that we even got released.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, it is kind of crazy seeing it and kind of reliving it all. But it's funny, too, because there's so much that they don't show, you know, that happened. And for whatever reason, you know, they played it out how they did. You know, the producers did a good job on the show, you know, portraying everyone and putting in what they did. But it's just funny because, like, I was there behind the scenes and I know, like, certain things that happened a certain way that, you know, they don't obviously show because they want to make it for TV.
And you know we're going to ask you what you're referring to. I mean, you had to know that. So what do you mean? Was there something that happened that they didn't put on TV that would be interesting to share with everyone? Nobody jizzed in anybody's sushi.
There's actually kind of a lot. Like, I'm not really, like, there's not really anything I could pinpoint besides, okay, like the coaches challenge.
Right.
You know, they played it out pretty good. You know, that's exactly the way it happened. But what they didn't show was, like, when they got to the machine guns, Faber's gun jammed, like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 times. Like, I don't know if that guy doesn't know how to shoot a gun or what, but he went up to the gun, tried to shoot it. It's not working. So the Marine jumps on it, boom, it's shooting. Okay, get ready, start again. You know, they restarted the competition. Boom, all of a sudden Faber doesn't know how to shoot his gun again, so they stop it again. You know, that happened about 7 or 8 times, and I don't know if his fingers are as long as his body, but, you know, how hard is it to pull a damn trigger to shoot a gun?
Oh, my God, I'm cracking up over here.
Just little things like that, you know?
You know, yeah, they really did make it seem like, well, if that was the case, I think they did a fairly good job of portraying Faber as not being very gun savvy during that little the little challenge. And I know you guys had to have been heartbroken when he pulled out the win. I was actually mad. Like, I was angry that he won.
Yeah.
It was a little.
Dude, you and me both, man. I was pissed. I was about to throw a rock at his head.
Oh yeah, when he went up to Cruz afterwards with the money in his hands and, like, kind of, you know, showed it to him. I do like the fact that Cruz didn't really feed into a lot of that, but you know, they were really trying to play up the animosity between the two coaches, and we saw a couple of things on the show. But were there any instances where it seemed like he was either being forced by either one of them, or that they really did seem like they didn't like each other? I mean, you were there. Is it real? Do they really dislike each other like that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hold on 1 second?
Yep,
if
absolutely.
You hold the key against it, it'll work. I fucking knew that. Walk in the car with the key.
You need music.
That is the car with the key didn't work.
Please do.
I have my roommate trying to take off, and the battery or the key that he has to my car doesn't work anymore, so I got to go down there. But hey, Brandon, here, just use this. We leave it unlocked. I'll be right down there.
This is awesome.
Yeah, just leave it unlocked. Throw the key in there. Yeah. Well, here, give me the other one now, the dead battery, just in case. I'm going to fuck myself. Huh? All right, cool.
Roommates. Fantastic.
Okay, well, now what's going on here?
I'm trying to. The animosity between Cruz and Faber, is it real, or was it kind of pushed by the producers on the show?
Oh no, they hate each other. They don't like each other. I mean, none of that was staged by the producers. They didn't at all, you know, tell them or have them, you know, play any of that out. That's pure just hate for each other and wanting to punch each other's face. Those two have like kind of a like a hateful brother bond, I guess you could say. Like, you know, like brothers that just hate each other, that always fight. That's how those two are.
So. You know, that's interesting you say that, and you know, we've talked about that on the show here before, and David has also said that he believes that it was very real, and I don't think any of us really questioned it. There seemed to be a couple of times where Faber was trying to instigate things with Cruz. Did you get that same impression, or was that just the way that the show was edited together?
Oh, no, yeah, Faber's definitely like that. He's a definitely instigator and tries to kind of push your buttons and get a rise out of you, and, you know, Dominic's the kind of guy that's like, that, you know, he won't feed into it. He'll just be like, all right, we'll see when I fight you. I'm just going to kick your ass, and we'll leave it at that. You know, he'll get you in other ways, you know. what I was going to tell you guys too is another thing we left out on the coaches challenge was before the challenge, Faber went up to Dom and said, "Hey, let's just do this for the guys, and whoever wins, we'll split the money. We'll split the was it $20,000?"
Yeah.
So Dom goes, all right, that's cool. Then I'll give some to my guys, you give some to your guys, whatever. And then whoever wins, they get the $1,500. So the competition's ready to start, and Dominic's super competitive guy. So he's pacing, he's shadow boxing before the competition starts. He's doing little sprints and stuff, and he walks up to Faber and goes, "Deals off." Faber's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Deals off, man." He's like, "I'm not splitting shit with you." And then boom, they start the competition. And then Dom lost, and he was butthurt. We were all pissed about it. We all wanted to beat the crap out of Faber and just smack his team, but I actually would probably do the same thing Dom did, all or nothing, because I know even if I lost, I wouldn't want to take money from that guy, like that's kind of like a pity bribe, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, I can
True,
understand
I wouldn't take that crap either.
So since you've actually seen the show, and I'm not sure how aware you guys were of the ratings while you were on the show, but the ratings weren't the greatest, and again, I'll say this again, this had nothing to do with you guys actually on the show. I think everybody on the show was fantastic. I think there was enough personality on the show. The fights were really good, but they had the show on a Friday night, and we've talked about it time and time again on the show. The demographic the UFC is targeting, they're not home on a Friday night to watch. Even if they are live fights, they're not home to watch that kind of stuff. So, the question we asked Cofer, and now I present it to you, since you actually lived it and you've actually gone back and watched it, is there anything that you would do differently if they said, "Hey, Pichel, what would you do differently to the show to get us more viewers?" Do you have any kind of input on that as somebody who actually lived it? Instances that you would have highlighted that they did not take advantage of during the show?
I'm
putting you in the director's seat.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe showing some more house stuff.
Oh well, that's what Cofer said too.
Even throwing one or two of those drunken nights in there, because some funny stuff happened when some alcohol got involved.
Again, nobody jizzed in anybody's sushi, though, right? Because that was like...
No, there was nothing like that. No, that's horrible and disgusting.
I gotta ask you.
Honestly, if someone would have poisoned my food, I probably would have stabbed someone. That's disgusting. I wouldn't play that shit.
When you had before you actually going on The Ultimate Fighter, had you actually watched the show? Were you a fan of the show before you went on there?
Oh yeah, I've watched a few seasons. Let me see. I watched the Brookins season, the one that he won.
Yeah.
I watched the season that Florian was on, and what was it? Florian, Stevenson was on. I think Gallard was on that one too.
Yeah.
I watched Sadalas a little bit. I watched a few seasons, but not too many, because when the show came on, I know it was on during a Wednesday night, but I was training. I'm always at the gym during the time, and I'm a broke ass. I never had a DVR, so I couldn't record it. So if I kind of caught it late at night, I caught it. If I didn't, whatever, no biggie. I was always just training, when it typically came on. So I caught as much as I could, but I couldn't be like a total goo-goo-eyed fan about it where I watched every single episode. It just wasn't in my schedule to happen for me.
But you had heard about some of those gross things that had happened in the house in some of those seasons, and I'm trying to think, guys, do you remember which season it was that that was like the worst season where the dude peed in the guy's fruit salad, and then
it was Noguera and Mir, because that was the same season that Junie Browning was on, and I think that was the season Ryan Bader was on. And I think it was
yeah, it is that one.
Yeah,
and
Tom Lawler
didn't he piss in his own food because someone was eating his food? So
yes.
He pissed in his own food and let him eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then I think that was Tom Lawler, and then I think someone splooged in his sushi, and then he ate it, and then
actually no.
What shocked me was how calm he was about it. It was he was too calm about it. I'm like, dude, I was just going around stabbing people.
But was that
another day in the office for him?
But was that a concern for you going into the house that shenanigans like that would happen and that you'd have to end up stabbing people? You're going in there man, somebody better not jizz in any of my food because I will stab them.
Honestly, I probably wouldn't stab anyone, but I made it clear when I was in the house, everyone's in the kitchen, if someone like messes with, like, a prank is a prank, but if someone messes with my personal stuff or my food, I'm kicking someone's ass. I'll get kicked out. I don't even care.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That was Mike Easton's attitude
I made that
too.
perfectly clear to everyone.
Yeah. No.
Mike was like, I can't be on that show. Someone does that to my food. I'm from DC. I'm from DC. They don't know this shit.
Not only is Mike Easton from DC, but he's from one of the worst parts of DC. So
he's like, no, pissing in my food.
Yeah, no, somebody would have got shanked real quick up in there.
Mike Easton is a badass dude too.
He's awesome. He really is. He's such a super nice guy, and we've had him a couple of times on the show. And he's actually really, really good friends with David. So he is. He's just an awesome dude. Having those kinds of guys around you must have been really good. I mean, I don't know what your training is like normally, but you were surrounded by really impressive guys. I think even Brandon Vera was there for at least a little bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was there. He was actually there for my fight. It's crazy. I train at Big John McCarthy's gym, and there's not any like real big UFC guys that train there.
Mm-hmm.
And me being an Ultimate Fighter, one was just crazy, like surreal. And then two, like training with Dominic Cruz, I mean, the UFC, bantamweight champ. And then he's got Lloyd Irvin, he's got Phil Davis, you got Shan Slack, who's an Olympian wrestler. Mike Easton comes in, Vera came in, you got Jeremy Stevens, Alexander Gustafsson came in, Ross Pearson. It's just crazy, like, even seeing the guys, you're like, when you're a little kid and you watch movies, and you're like, oh, these guys are movie stars.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, you see them places, out and about, whatever, and they're just like normal people. That's kind of how I was, like, damn, you guys are like rock stars, and I'm meeting you guys, like, this is fucking crazy. And then, you get to know them, and they're just like, they're just people, man. That's what was so cool about it. They're themselves, they weren't the kind of people that were, I'm a big UFC fighter. I do this, I do that. They're themselves. They're people, which was like super awesome. And learning from those guys was just crazy. It's just like a crazy dream. Like it honestly didn't really even hit me until, afterwards. As soon as I got released, that's when everything started hitting me. Like, holy shit, I was just training with Dominic Cruz. I was just an Ultimate Fighter. Like, I just did this. Like, this is fucking nuts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that was kind of surreal, probably at some points, especially Brandon Vera, who at one point was one of the UFC's more popular fighters, and now he's headlining a card with Shogun Rua. So yeah, that's got to be pretty surreal.
Oh yeah.
So now that you have your freedom, and you said you're taking some time off, what are you going to do with your free time? I mean, you're just going to lay about, and you did say you were going to go to the gym and try not to get fat, but I feel like when you're taking a vacation time means you lay around and get a little fat. So how are you going to occupy your time?
Well, I have been like taking a lot of time off from the gym. I've been going to the gym, I went this week was the first week I actually went back to the gym. I went there, I'm going to go there once or twice a week, just to keep myself from turning into a fat shit. And then, I'm basically just relaxing. There's a lot of stuff around the house that, I need to take care of, things I left, because before I left for the Ultimate Fighter, I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. Like, I just had, like, stress from work, I just got a damn speeding ticket. That pissed me off,
Yeah.
I had a really good friend of mine die last year, like, the day before my birthday in November,
wow.
And then just stuff at home, just, dealing with stuff. And it was just crazy. Like, when I left, I kind of just said, screw all this, and kind of took off, and I came back home hoping it would, I guess, be gone, but it's not. It's just right here and smacked me in the face. So I've been kind of just taking care of stuff that I just kind of left to go take off and do the Ultimate Fighter for. Well,
I mean, you're a businessman, and I'm sorry to hear about your friend. That's really unfortunate to hear that. And we know on the show, wow, why am I spacing on his name? Justin, help me.
Yeah, Justin Lawrence.
Yeah, that dude who won. Why am I?
Chiesa.
Yes, Chiesa. Yeah, Chiesa's father.
Oh, Mike Chiesa.
Yeah, when his father passed away on the show. Tell me about the atmosphere in the house when everybody found that out. Was there a lot of Did you guys kind of come together as one for that moment, at least for somebody who was in the house with you and maybe not on your team, but somebody who, it was at least a fellow fighter?
Yeah, well, I mean, I found out about it, and I went up to Mike, and I kind of told him, like, hey, man, like, I know that, what happened with your dad, whatever, it sucks, I just want you to know, even though, like, we're on the same team, we're kind of enemies right now, like, that kind of shit sucks, and, if you want to talk, whatever, I'll be here, I know I'm not, like, good friends with you or nothing, but, that kind of shit sucks, and you need to just, sometimes you just got to talk about stuff like that,
Right.
I just want you to know that, if you need anything, like, I'll support you, like, I know what it's like, losing someone like that close to you, and, maybe not a father, and something like that. Mine are still alive and kicking, but it's just unfortunate. It sucks that that had to happen to him during that thing. But you know what? He did really well and kind of didn't lose focus and did what he had to do. And he came out on top. And I'm actually glad that he won instead of Al because I want revenge on Al. I want to kick his ass. But
I was going to ask you about
another
that.
Story.
I was going to ask you about that. Did you watch your fight with Al and if given an opportunity to have a rematch with him, would you do it? And what would you do differently?
Oh, I wouldn't do anything differently. I would just fight harder. When I went to that fight with Al, I was actually injured from fighting Saunders. Saunders, I mean, I got to give Saunders this. That son of a bitch can throw a hell of a leg kick. I mean, my leg was messed up from checking a couple of his kicks.
Right.
Where up until, I fought him, Friday, and I had to fight next Friday. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday was when my leg, I was able to even step on my toe on my left leg. So, I was fighting Al thinking like, okay, it'll be okay. Al's not going to throw kicks. He's just going to throw his overhand right, his uppercuts, his hooks. That's all he's going to try to do. And what does the son of a bitch do? He throws a kick. So, me and Ashley, I go to check it and just destroyed my leg, man. Just hurt it so much more, worse than it was. So then, I was kind of like, fuck, man, I got to work around this now. This is bullshit. But, not taking anything away from Al. I mean, he did what he had to do. If I saw him, hurting his leg or something, I'd attack the shit out of that thing too.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If I get a chance and, I talk to them and tell them I want to fight and they say, hey, Al's right there, give me him. I'll kick his ass. I got no problem with that. The way I see it is Al just kind of got lucky. Shit didn't work my way, and he got the better end of the stick on that one, but next time we fight, he won't. That's for sure.
Oh, wow. I like it. Fighting words. I like that a lot. So,
post this on his Twitter, too.
So, have you, of the guys that you trained with and lived in the house with, do you still talk with any of them outside of the house, other than just on Twitter? Are you in communication with any of the guys still?
Oh, yeah, I still talk to Tickle sometimes. I talk to Sam. I talk to Justin. I talk to Jeremy. I throw some shit talking towards Vic a little bit. I had a few guys in the house that I really got along with really well, and I do still keep in touch with them. It's kind of hard because everyone's from different parts of the damn continent. So
yeah.
I mean, all we really do is text each other or Twitter each other. So that's what we're doing now. But I know like Justin comes out here because he trains at Black House, which is close to where I live.
Right.
And then Sam was talking about coming out here and training with Dominic and them over at Alliance. So I'll definitely see those two. I think for sure. Sometime in the close future here. But yeah, I try to keep in touch with them. Like they're all cool guys, and being on the red team, like, I don't know if, like, what anyone really got from the show, but the red team and the blue team, like, we had our own kind of way that we were, like, the red team, like, what we would do is we would train, we'd train our asses off. We'd come home, we were just tired, we would, we'd eat something, we'd go to bed until, we'd take a nap before it's time to go train again. And then, the blue team comes home and it's like cheerleading practice. Those guys are screaming and yelling, like, laughing, having a good time. And in fact, that was like the difference between us. Sometimes I'm like, what the hell do those guys do at the gym? Like, they're obviously not training. They have this much energy when they're done. Like, what the hell's going on?
Right. Yeah, I can hear that. Oh wow, coming back and if you have that much energy when you came back, you didn't train hard enough.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. And then after a while, maybe not the first couple weeks, but after that, all of us on Cruz's team, we all started just hanging out together, and building a bond. And it was really cool, like we would all just sit around, just bullshit, even if none of us were talking, we would just sit around together and just kind of hang out. And, that was really cool. And it's crazy how you're in a situation like that where you potentially have to fight each other to get what you want. But, we still kind of talk, and, it's like brothers. That's why I always, looked at it was we're all brothers in there, and, brothers fight sometimes, and that's just the way it is. We'll drink together afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. And that's good that you guys were able to develop your own kind of bond. And I think that's kind of indicative of that kind of environment where you guys are on two different teams. You can't help but kind of, all kind of congregate together with your teammates, and you developed like a special environment just amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And that is what it was. It's being locked in a house with no contact, and you're stuck with 15 other smelly dudes makes you do weird things sometimes.
Oh, and I know you. We saw on Twitter that you guys were so happy to be free. And congratulations on getting as far as you did on the Ultimate Fighter. I think you made it really far. And we look forward to seeing you in the UFC. You said hopefully sometime before the end of the year we'll get to see you fight. And you'll be fighting at 155, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah, there's no way I could get any lower than that once I cut something off, and I'm not going to even do that one.
Well, what do you walk around at?
I walk around typically around 180.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Wow, yeah, that would be a pretty difficult. Cofer was saying that he walks around 160 something, so...
Oh, yeah, he's just a little guy. I mean, Cofer actually looks pretty big for how much he weighs. I don't know if he's on the juice or something. I don't know, but he looks really huge for only weighing 163.
Well, you're like 5'10", are you?
Yeah, I'm 5'10".
Yeah, you're.
I was one of the bigger guys in the house. I think me and Proctor are probably the biggest guys in the house.
Oh well, yeah. Both of you guys were. It was noticeable on TV how much bigger you guys were than everybody else. So. And I think that'll definitely work to your advantage in the 155 division. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, chit-chatting with us, shooting the shit. And we hope to have you on again, especially when you find out about your fight. We'd love to have you on to talk about your opponent, whoever that unfortunate person is going to be. Because
poor bastard.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again. And people can follow you on Twitter at From Hell Pichel.
Yep.
You have a Facebook fan page as well.
Yes, I do. Vinc Pichel.
And so go ahead, follow him on Twitter and like his page on Facebook. And good luck to you, man. And we look forward to hearing many good things about you in the UFC.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here, and, always fun talking to someone that wants to talk to you.
All right, man. Have a good one. And handle your shit, man. Handle your shit.
All right, you too, guys.
All right, bye.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Well, I feel like we've been doing interviews for, forever. All right, let's talk about something else. Still fighting related, but other stuff.
Let's talk Rory BJ.
Okay, because that's some shit. Well, Justin, go ahead and break it down for us. Break it down.
Okay, so David and I were talking a little earlier today because we were trying to think. There's kind of a slow news week, but we wanted to kind of talk about some things that we may have missed last week. And one of those was the Rory McDonald BJ Penn fight, which is likely going to be, I believe, a co-main event in Calgary. Not 100%. I think it's going to be the co-main event for Jones and Hendo, but I could be wrong about that. But anyways, I had some issues with Penn's reasoning for actually taking this fight because I heard two things. I know his Twitter account isn't always him. I know he has a staff taking from bjpenn.com doing that a lot of the time. But he also, I believe, said some of the stuff in interviews as well. One, he said he took the fight because, one, he has one fight on his UFC contract that he needs to fulfill, and that he needed a fight like this to motivate him to come back into the UFC, which I thought was kind of strange considering how he blew off Josh Koscheck and said, I'm retired, you can keep fishing somewhere else, whatever. And then, another reason he said he took this fight was because he wanted to prove to the TriStar gym where Rory McDonald trains that BJ Penn's loss to GSP at UFC 94 was a fluke, which I'm not entirely sure how you prove that your loss to one guy is a fluke by fighting someone who just happens to be on the same training team. I don't know.
He's the next George St. Pierre, isn't he? That's what Joe Rogan said.
Well, it's like, yeah.
He might be more talented than George St. Pierre.
Not right now.
I'm repeating what I've heard.
I think we should call him the next George St. Pierre. Officially.
He's not going to fight for like 2 years and maintain his title anyway.
I agree. This is ridiculous. This whole they're being very accommodating for
He's George.
For Mr. George. And I can understand. I mean, I understand to a certain degree why they're doing that, but good God.
But I mean, even with Lesnar, well, I guess they did keep the belt on Lesnar, despite the fact that he was out for so long, and then they did an interim title. But I don't think I heard some couple rumblings on Twitter that the hopeful GSP Condit fight that was going to be co-headlined with Campman Hendricks, that GSP may not be nearly as recovered as they're saying he is, and that the fight may have to wait even longer, which may be back to like 2013 for GSP to come back. I mean, how do you justify keeping a belt on a guy who hasn't fought for 2 years?
I have no idea how. I mean, do we have any clue as to how they're justifying what they're doing right now? The fact that they had an interim title and had absolutely no intention of having that person defend that title. Why did they need a title then? Like, why not just make them number one contender?
I don't know.
Back to BJ Rory. Why would BJ take a fight with Rory McDonald and pass up a fight with Josh Koscheck?
I have no idea. That blows my mind.
I don't know. The Koscheck fight, he definitely had a better chance of winning, but
irrespective of his chances, Koscheck is a name where if BJ loses, sort of acceptable. Rory, we could expect him to lose, but Rory's just going to make his name off of BJ.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and
he's a stepping stone.
Yeah, and
he's allowing himself.
If BJ does win the fight against Rory McDonald, then it's just like, oh well, that was Rory's biggest step up in competition. I mean, look, his last fight was against Shea Mills, and now he's fighting BJ Penn. Come on, no one really expected him to do that well.
It's a lose-lose. It doesn't make sense to pass up on Koscheck. Koscheck is, as Eric has said, the more winnable fight to begin with.
Yeah,
but a loss to Koscheck hurts less, and a win means more.
Yeah.
Even though it shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't understand what
he needs a new agent.
I think BJ is probably not. I don't know. I think he
wanted to fight Brock Lesnar for the heavyweight championship, but Dana won't make the fight. He's a little crazy.
He is.
This is when Brock was still, the beast. Pre-diverticulitis. BJ wanted to come back and fight Brock. Or no, I'm sorry. I am fucking that story up. I apologize. He wanted to fight Tim Sylvia.
Oh, that's...
Sylvia was champion.
He might have beaten
Sylvia.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking, that might have actually been a winnable fight.
Because he had contract dispute at the same time, and he wanted to come back to fight for the heavyweight championship. And Dana's like, that's not happening.
Wow. Well, it's good on Dana for not letting that happen. Because that would have been...
Would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome.
Japan would have let it happen.
Oh, yeah, no, Japan would have let it happen in a hot second.
It would have been awesome because BJ would have knocked him out.
I love how I feel like Tim Sylvia has accepted the fact that UFC is not going to let him in, no matter how much he quote unquote campaigns to try and to get back in.
That's the sad guy. His ring entrances, he'd come out and didn't he come out with the American flag in an attempt to get cheers when he was fighting Fedor, and yet they still cheered Fedor in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's sort of the reverse of Rocky.
Well, I mean, that was why that was why Sylvia kind of, I think, came out originally for his reasoning for taking when he got busted for steroids after the Gan McGee fight. I think like part of his reasoning was he's like, well, I wanted to look more cut up so people would like me.
I thought maybe he said he'd be more marketable, which is a slight difference and makes more sense. He's less pathetic.
Yeah.
But he does seem desperate. Like, he does not play into a guy like that is not going to be the baby face because he's going to be the favorite. He's got size to his advantage, and he should have played into that, like all guys should, like Koscheck does. Instead, he whines about it, and yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, and you know.
And Sylvia.
Yeah.
God bless his soul.
Why doesn't anybody like me?
Did you see him on the dating game?
No, I mean I've
that
heard.
Out. It's got to be on YouTube.
It's definitely on YouTube. I've heard so much about it.
Rejects him too. It's really so sad. He's like the UFC champion at the time as well.
Oh, because at that time it was still pretty looked down upon. I mean, not that our reputation or MMA's reputation has gotten too much better, but it's better than what it was when Sylvia was champion.
Well, plus, I think it was from Matt Hughes' book, where Sylvia was training with them at the Militich camp, and for some reason, I guess Tim Sylvia went in the back and was just like talking to Matt, and then Matt was just like, "Look, dude, we just straight up don't like you."
Oh wow.
He was like, what? He was like, oh yeah. He was like, I thought we could, all you guys are my training partners. I thought we could be friends. He was like, look, man, I'm not interested in being your friend. I had plenty of friends and blah blah blah. And then he was like, I thought Tim was gonna cry right there.
I think Jens Pulver really was mean to him as well.
Oh
yeah.
Now I feel kind of bad.
Wasn't Jens Pulver really mean? Like, he'd call him a fat fuck all the time. Tim would basically cry, maybe literally cry.
Oh.
I think he might have literally cried. That might have been in the book as well, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I read that book a while ago.
Oh, somebody put the YouTube clip on my my page. Thanks, Brian, for putting the Tim Sylvia blind date clip on there.
Oh.
I'll have to definitely tweet this in case anybody has not seen it. All right, so let's real quick talk about the UFC on FX3 that happened last Friday. Right?
Awesome show.
There were definitely some upsets on this card. Although I think the biggest upset was not really an upset, but Johnson beating McCall, unanimous decision. I don't know, but let me just say that I put this on Twitter. I don't know what that judge was smoking that they gave it.
All 3 rounds?
Yes, all 3 rounds.
30-27?
I don't know what
he was smoking. Whatever the Bradley Pacquiao judges were smoking.
Oh,
you have to let me talk about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have David Wolf rant for like 15 minutes about that because that was just an awful.
Did you watch the fight? Either of you?
No, I didn't watch the
fight. I don't mean to divert attention at this point, but I was just wondering if either of you saw the fight.
No, I didn't see the fight, but I followed play-by-plays on
It'll be on HBO tomorrow night. I suggest watching it because it's so outrageous. You have to see this.
It's so outrageous. You have to see it for yourself.
Yeah, you have to see you have to watch this fight, and just keep in mind the whole time that Pacquiao lost.
Wow.
Just keep it in mind.
It's almost depressing to even think about that. So Johnson beat McCall. Johnson, of course, is now going to go on to beat Joseph Benavidez.
I thought that was a great fight.
To fight Joseph Benavidez. I thought it was I didn't think it was as good as their first one, but it was still a good fight. I think Johnson had a much better game plan this time around than he did the first time, and McCall never seemed to really be able to really get into the fight. Although I did have him winning the second round.
Yeah,
for sure.
Although, Johnson, I think this provides evidence that nonsense weight cut with that idiot who deprived Johnson of carbohydrates really affected him negatively in that first fight.
Who's the idiot that deprived him of carbohydrates?
He had some new nutritionist for the weight cut to 125, and the guy totally depleted his carbs at the wrong time as well. Like, it fucked him up. He was completely fatigued in that first fight, and that's what he said. But in the second fight, it went he was a different fighter. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It
It looked like
I think there's something to it.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he looked like a different fighter. He just looked like he had more energy, and again, I think he had a much better game plan this second time around than he did the first time around. Let me ask you guys, and Justin did his write up, which of course you can catch. You can actually catch that on our Facebook wall, and it's also, we have a Tumblr account. It's fightfansradio.tumblr.com, and you check it out.
You should share it on your Facebook pages and Twitter accounts.
Yes, absolutely, and I should probably
retweet or whatever.
Retweet the link for it is. Oh yeah, we're gonna get you on Twitter one.
Whatever you youngins are doing these days.
I'm telling you, man, Twitter's where it's at. Twitter's the hot shit. Facebook, old and busted. Twitter, new hotness. Although it's like, how old is Twitter? Twitter is not young anymore. I would say maybe like 5 years. Maybe 5 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. 5 years somewhere.
It's got to be 5 years because I remember Sarah Palin making an ass of herself many years ago.
On
Twitter. Does that daily.
No, but this was, I'm talking years ago, of course. But she was using, she was tweeting.
I do remember Twitter being a really big thing during, especially during the McCain-Obama presidential election. I do remember that Twitter was, I think that's kind of when it really
McCain tweeted as well. Supposedly. Someone tweeted for him.
Someone definitely tweeted for him. Okay, so my boy.
It's a guy yelling at you for not being on his lawn.
My boy MMA on the reg on Twitter asked a really good question, and I wasn't even aware of this. And thanks for bringing this up to our attention. Were you guys aware that Demetrius Johnson got $20,000 to show at $20,000 to win, and Ian McCall got $9,000 for his fight?
Leonard Garcia got paid more than Ian McCall did.
How does that even make any sense? How does it?
Those are just the reported figures, though. I mean, these guys are getting bonused, and it's not reported.
I mean, but
I would virtually guarantee that he got taken care of.
I'm sure he did get taken care of, but I mean, that is it safe to assume? If we're going to assume that these guys are probably making more than what's reported, then isn't it fair to assume that Demetrius Johnson also made more than that? So,
I'm sure.
So I just can't imagine that at the end of the day that their salaries came out to being even. I'm sure Ian McCall made more than that, but
they may not have been.
But the fact that Ian McCall even reported made only $9,000, just reported, that's ridiculous. I mean, how is that even? I don't understand. I mean, the guy is fighting for a number one contender for a title
on an FX show that's not going to make anyone any money.
But Demetrius Johnson is worth $40,000.
They both got paid, I'm sure, significantly more than that. And I'm not saying like seven figures, but I don't know. I think Demetrius Johnson has been around. Is a UFC mainstay. Uncle Creepy's new on the scene as well. Granted, he fought his way into this picture, but if that was all he got, I'd say it's horrible. But I'm sure he got more.
And I'm sure, and again, I'm sure that they all got more, but I'm sure Johnson got more too. So at the end of the day,
I agree. I'm sure
Ian
Johnson
McCall is being
Uncle
paid.
Creepy at the end of the day.
It's getting paid
I don't know if that's
significantly less.
such an injustice.
And to call Johnson a UFC mainstay, I think that's a bit heavy-handed, considering he came from the WEC.
A Zuffa mainstay.
Okay, we can say Zuffa mainstay, but definitely not UFC mainstay. And
and he's been around forever with the company.
Well, he's been around as long as Zuffa has owned any fight organization he's been a part of. Yes, but when did Zuffa buy WEC? That was 2007-ish.
6, 7.
So yeah, I mean, he's obviously been on the banner, but for a long time, Ian McCall was considered one of the best flyweights in the world. So I don't see how I don't know. Anyway, well,
my issue with the whole thing is that guys on the it's one thing to say that Ian McCall is not that well known of a fighter in the UFC right now. Yes, he fought a few times at 135 in the WEC. I think he beat Cody Wheeler, but lost to Dominic and then one other fighter, and then was eventually cut. But went on to have some great success at 125 over Tachi Palace. Kind of brought in to be one of the new faces of 125, and I think he's become that. My issue with the pay was that guys on the undercard who, are not, okay, maybe Leonard Garcia is a Zupa mainstay, if you want to call him that, but he's also a guy who hasn't definitively won a fight in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. But on top of that, his fight, which he lost, dramatic, or not dramatically, drastically, it was completely one-sided for Matt Grice, but it was a fueled prelim as well. So Leonard Garcia, just for showing up to get put on his back for 3 rounds, made $20,000. Meanwhile, Ian McCall, who put on one of the fights of the year with Demetrius Johnson.
I bet you Ian McCall got more money than did what's his name?
Leonard
I bet
Garcia?
you Garcia, yeah. I bet you Ian McCall made more money overall than Leonard Garcia off that show. I mean, it's UFC's fault for not releasing the numbers, so we have incomplete information. I'm not even certain why they do that.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I mean,
bothers me, but I know for a fact that every guy gets bonused, and that's not reported.
And I've heard
and
theories
Papazian
behind
told
it.
us that. So, it's to me, it's like what you just said, David.
No, Papazian says, wait. Jared's bonus was something separate. That was the bonus that Dana guaranteed those guys after Twitter went nuts because Mike and Jared were denied fight of the night. Mm-hmm. That was something different in addition to the other bonuses that everyone gets.
Well, I mean, as far as we know. Has Mike even mentioned that? I mean, I'm sure Mike got his because they were both supposed to be getting their a bonus for that fight. What Papazian said he got, what did he say, $10,000 from the UFC? That's what he told me.
I don't remember him giving us a figure. He just said that he got taken care of.
I was fairly certain he gave us a figure. I think he
did. I think he
did.
Said
10 G's for.
I'm not sure Mike's spoken about it publicly, so I don't want to say anything either.
I don't like math, but anytime I hear numbers, I just go blank.
I'm sure whatever Jared received was what Mike received. So.
Yeah, I don't know. And then speaking of Papazian, I mean, on this fight card, this guy cannot get a break. First, he's denied fight of the night with his fight with Mike, and obviously he got his money later. But and I didn't even realize this during the broadcast. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but I did read up on this, and there's investigation is not the right word for it. But do you remember during the broadcast when Destin Pay took Jared's back? He was using the cage to push off, and the ref kept telling him to stop using the cage with his feet, which is not.
I don't remember anything from the Fuel show because I didn't get to see it.
Oh, that's right. Do you remember that?
No,
Justin?
I heard about it though.
Yeah, I actually noticed that because he was pushing off, trying to, going for a sweep, and the ref kept saying, stop touching the cage or stop grabbing or touching the fence or stop pushing off, and the rules clearly state that you can push off or put your feet up. You can't wrap your toes around and try and grab the fence like you would with your hand.
I think the ref claimed that that's what he was doing.
Yeah, that's what the ref claims he was doing, but I think
so I can't comment.
No, but the language that he used doesn't support that argument.
He was get your feet off the cage.
Get your feet off the cage.
I mean, that there's stop, don't, or get your toes out of the cage or stop grabbing the fence. You can't just say, don't put your feet on the cage.
Yeah.
I know Dana and company were pissed as hell about it. So.
Yeah, and rightly so. So I'm hoping that, they give Papazian another shot in the UFC. They may or may not. And I did see on his Facebook page that he's looking to drop. I'm fairly certain he said he's looking to drop to 135.
125.
Yeah,
125. Yeah, that's right. 125 if given the opportunity. So.
Well, he also said on his Facebook page, like he said first that he was going to look into the do a test run at 125, but then after all the news broke after the issues with what the officials were telling him about the referee was telling him about not putting his feet on the cage, he was actually looking into I guess like appealing that law, see if he can get it overturned and maybe get a rematch.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I wouldn't mind him getting the opportunity to try and come back from that loss, because who knows what would have happened if he didn't have that stupid ref screaming in his ear that he's not allowed to do something that you're definitely allowed to do. So,
no, Florida really found a way to make a complete ass of themselves. Like, I mean, between the
not like
low
Nevada, not like Nevada the next night.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Okay, before we get to that, just real quick, let's hold on. I want to make sure that we cover everything else before we get to that, because I have a feeling we'll spend some time on that. Oh, good God, these injuries just driving me absolutely batshit crazy. Jose Aldo having to pull out of his friggin' fight,
But look what they did. They gutted that Vegas show that they sold for like double normal price because it was going to be a loaded show. And now what's left is the main event of Chael against Anderson 2, and then Tito and Forrest underneath, with like Tito getting the Hall of Fame thing, I guess, which is supposed to be something that's maybe a bonus for people at this point. But look what they did to that show.
Yeah.
And people have been pointing out it's one thing to lose a show for injuries to that particular, to fighters on that show. But here you're having fights removed because fighters are being injured on other shows. Like, and I think the Barao favorite thing was the last straw for a lot of people that had bought tickets to go see this.
Yeah.
To plan this was going to be a super event, and it's still a good show for your average UFC show. But Jesus, this is like nothing compared to what we were salivating about this about 2 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, really not too many cards haven't been affected lately by this injury bug.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bad idea to actually count on fights taking place. Like, when they announce something, you really have to wait till like the day before.
Yes.
Like the same week. You're like, okay, this fight's going to take place. Because fighters pull out like 2 weeks early too. That happens all the time. Like, I'm waiting to hear Anderson's not going to fight.
Yeah, I kind of am too. Like with bated breath, this fight, it feels like it's never going to happen. Hopefully, it does happen. And if it does happen, I'm sure we'll be in for a really good fight. Although I do have to say the main card.
I think Anderson might slaughter him if it does happen.
I'm thinking that might be the way things go, because Anderson does not want to fight.
I hope so. I do want to see Anderson slaughter Chael at this point. After hearing Chael on the Joe Rogan podcast talk about how he knows DB Cooper, I want to see Anderson kick his ass. Just for being so fucking stupid. I want to see Anderson kick his ass. I don't know if you listened to the Rogan podcast with Chael.
No, no, I didn't.
It's a whole other level of stupidity. I'm like, are you a functional retard? What the fuck is going on here? Yeah, I know DB Cooper. My dad disagrees, but yeah, this was DB Cooper.
Oh, wow.
No one else picked up on. He looks like DB Cooper. Take a look at the fucking picture. Like 80% of the fucking people walking around could look like DB Cooper.
Oh, well, I love the shit that Chael talks. He doesn't buy any of it.
It's great. It is great.
He doesn't buy it.
In the movie we're not going to discuss, Ed Soros was actually laughing about Chael talking about how Anderson doesn't come from a bowing culture. If you bow in Brazil, they'll mug you, they'll knee you, and they'll take your wallet or something.
That's awful.
Ed Soros was laughing. I was like, that's fucking funny.
Oh, Ed Soros actually showing a side that people might actually like.
And he was also very upfront about how Anderson doesn't understand the business of fights, or he does understand and doesn't care.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Fucking good movie.
And then we're talking about Like Water, which just came out, which is a documentary about Anderson Silva. So check that out, and maybe we'll tweet that link as well later.
I got the link on my Facebook page. from a few days ago.
And David Wolf will friend you. So David Wolf on Facebook. But looking at this UFC 148 card, it's still not a bad card, like you said. You got Damian Maia making his 170 debut against Kim, Dong Hyun Kim. I think that's going to be a really good fight. Kim is a big 170er, so I think that'd be interesting. We see the return of Patrick Cote versus Kung Lei. I think that's going to be a barn burner right there. Barn burner. And then, of course, Forrest Griffin, Tito Ortiz, whatever. But, yeah.
Both those guys are ready to hang it up, really.
And Forrest is saying that he'll retire from life if he loses to Tito.
He's going to kill himself?
I don't know what that means. It's kind of scary.
I'd put him on, like, suicide watch if he loses this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll retire from life? What about I'll retire from the sport? I will never fight again. No, I'll retire from life. And Tito, it's not like Tito's a walk in the park. Tito might win this fight. Horses look like shit too, for the most part.
Yeah, yes, he's really looked kind of like garbage lately.
You might be retiring from life, buddy.
Oh, boy.
Write another book. Your first one was hilarious.
I didn't read the second one. I really do want to read that one though.
Did you read the first one?
Oh yeah, the first one was really funny.
Was that laugh out loud funny?
It was a brilliant book. Really great job by Forrest. I know he probably more is like, dictates the book to somebody else and they actually write it, but just
it's his sense of humor for sure.
Absolutely.
And it was laugh out loud funny page after page. I'm like no exaggeration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Such a funny book.
And let's see, what else did we want to cover before I let you loose on this? Justin, was there
the Hulk here.
Justin, is there anything that you wanted to talk about before we let David Hulk out on this Pacquiao decision?
Just let him go. Just let him go.
Okay, all right, David, go for it.
I don't even know how long it'll take. I'm sure people are really familiar with what happened, but it took things to a whole other level. Like, in the end, it's either incompetence or corruption that's at work here.
Well, back up. Tell me about the fight itself. As you're watching the fight, I was following you on Facebook and people on Twitter. Tell me about the fight as you were watching, because I remember at one point on Facebook you were like, well, I might as well just go to bed because this is a blowaway for Pacquiao. So tell me about the fight itself.
So what happened during this fight was, I guess round after round it was pretty similar, where Pacquiao would not do that much at the beginning of the round, and then for like the last minute would just explode and continually punch Tim Bradley in the face. This happened again round after round, and the stats show the story. Overall, Pacquiao outpunched Bradley by 100 punches, and this was true round after round after round. So when it entered like the 7th round, I thought Pacquiao was up 7-0. I didn't really see any of those rounds. I guess maybe one of the early rounds could have gone to Bradley. I don't see how, actually. And I was ready to hang it up and just go.
Oh, you Skyped out. You Skyped out for a second there. So back up just a few seconds, David.
Okay, so Pacquiao is winning round after round.
Right.
In my eyes, and in the eyes of really everyone. So at around the 7th round, when I thought Pacquiao was up, 7 rounds to nothing, I was actually thinking about just going to sleep because it was really, really late. Pacquiao had, and this might play into some might think this plays into maybe the way the judges were looking at Pacquiao, but Pacquiao decided to watch the basketball game and then warm up his calves.
That was decided before the fight even happened. Aaron was out saying that they weren't going to.
No, but listen to me. No, Pacquiao was doing this instead of getting ready, so the fight was further delayed. Instead of Pacquiao getting wrapped up and warming up, he's watching the game. And then after the game, he says, okay, I have to warm up my calves. So the fight was delayed probably an extra 45 minutes or so past the end of the game, it should have gone on earlier. And apparently officials were a little upset with Pacquiao over his behavior. Shouldn't have played into how they viewed the fight. They had 2 judges that were over 70 years old. I don't even know how, I think they're 70-year-old people that certainly are competent. I don't look at that as per se a problem. I don't think this was incompetence. This was such a travesty. Like, this was the worst decision I've ever seen, and it's reflected in what all the pundits, what all the fighters are saying. You could maybe find 2 or 3 other people that will say they gave it to Bradley. And then you have the 2 judges here. And even the one judge that gave the fight to Pacquiao had it 7 rounds to 5, 115 to 113. And Pacquiao won round after round after round. I saw one round that should have gone to Bradley. And I'll say, I did go brush my teeth for 2 rounds. I missed the 8th and 9th rounds. So those conceivably could have gone to Bradley. But even so, it would still be like 8 rounds to 4 at worst for Pacquiao.
Right.
This was worse than Shogun against Machida. This was the worst thing I've ever seen, to the point where, and I'm like really naturally averse to conspiracy theories because I just don't believe people can keep secrets. Like, once you have 3 people, it's done. But I feel like there was something wrong here, and not just incompetence. Like, incompetence can affect MMA, and I think it's more difficult to judge MMA because you have so many other aspects going on. But when you have one guy punching the other guy in the face over and over again, it's pretty clear cut. Like, you don't need an advanced degree. You're watching a fight, and anyone watching this fight, a child could have seen that Manny Pacquiao was beating Tim Bradley. He didn't knock him out. Tim Bradley showed a lot of heart. But for this decision to go to Bradley, and then there was word that a lot of late money came in on Bradley. Pacquiao was a huge favorite at like 4-1. I suspect that there was really something. And this is Las Vegas, and this is boxing, which is notorious historically for being completely corrupt. And when money's involved, I just felt like there was something very wrong here, and not just like these guys didn't know what they were watching. It's totally unjustifiable. I cannot. And then you have Keith Kaiser from the Las Vegas Commission saying they're not going to investigate. They're not even going to talk to the judges. The judges have to do better jobs. I mean, you should have them in your office watching the fight with them and asking them how they scored it.
Yeah, I agree.
Minute for minute. Like, what were you watching? Explain this to me.
What is this aversion to? I mean, and they don't have to publicly come out and
condemn your judges.
Yeah, condemn your judges, but at some point you need to be taking your judges aside and trying to fix some of these problems that people are seeing. We're not stupid. We see these problems, and
this was awful. This was a robbery.
They're not. It doesn't seem like they're doing anything to try and fix it. I mean, they talk a good game. They're not doing anything to fix it. They're not doing shit. So. And it's frustrating for fans, man. And sports lose credibility this way. This is how credibility goes out the door.
This is what killed boxing more than anything. More than not making the fights people want to see. More than not having personalities. These type of decisions, and this is just, this took it to a whole other level. Because this usually, and Pacquiao lost his last fight as far as I was concerned to Juan Manuel Marquez. But that was a close fight that they gave to Pacquiao. And you could see the arguments round after round. Well, this was a close round.
Right.
Here it was like really decisive. And the stats bear it out. And everyone that watched the fight, again, except for these 2 judges, and then you have maybe 2 people with credibility in the boxing world who also gave it to Bradley somehow.
I don't know how that. And again, I didn't watch the fight, but I followed the fight as it was happening live. I followed it on Twitter.
I couldn't believe it, Erica. When they announced the scores, the first score they announced was the score in favor of Pacquiao, and it was 115-113, and I was shaking my head. I was like, how the fuck do you have it that close? And I was like, okay, let's wait for these other scores. And the second score's announced and it's for Bradley. And the third score's announced and it's for Bradley. And it was surreal. I was like, what the hell did I just see?
Wow. Well, people are calling it one of the biggest upsets in at least modern boxing. And that upsets, but upset to say that Bradley won that fair and square. But like you said, there's something going on. Obviously, we're not stupid.
This was fishy as like you have to watch this fight tomorrow night and just tell me what you think.
Well, let me ask you this, because Luke Thomas tweeted this the day after the fight, I believe. that you know how Luke Thomas is. Hyperbole is his best friend, but it was something along the lines of, you know, if you think that last night decision killed boxing, then you're an idiot or something like that. So, do you really think that that decision has that much of an impact on boxing and makes MMA look that much better, or does it just make combat sports and judging in general just look shitty?
See, I think by itself, as an isolated thing, it really doesn't, but it's just a part of a larger pattern. And I believe that a lot of boxing fans have been turned off to boxing and have come over to MMA. And though we might have, you know, our issues with judging, you don't come away from it thinking, okay, you know, something unkosher took place and money changed hands and that's what took place. You know, we end up thinking, yeah, these judges suck. But we you know, we're not thinking corruption. I think it's emblematic of an issue that's like plagued boxing forever. And when you have alternatives like MMA, I don't want to say it killed boxing. Of course, it didn't kill boxing. And Pacquiao against Mayweather could still do tons of money even off of this. No one considers it a real loss for Pacquiao, so they could still do the Mayweather fight and will still do well. And again, like as far as boxing's not, you know, boxing's, I don't want to say a dying sport because it'll never die, but boxing is in a real bad way. Except for Pacquiao and Mayweather, you don't have anyone that can draw money. And all the big boxing fights, except for the mega pay-per-views with Pacquiao and Mayweather, the big boxing fights are on HBO because they can't sell on pay-per-view.
Right.
And then you had Margarito and Cotto because they had that backstory that did really well too. But that's an aberration. Otherwise, it's just Mayweather and just Pacquiao. And you have to wonder what comes after these guys. Like, maybe if someone beats one of them decisively, you can have a superstar created. Because that's sort of what happened when Mayweather beat De La Hoya. But Mayweather's got a super personality, too. So, you know, you have some guys that are coming up, like Saul Alvarez, who's going to fight now, paralyzed Paul Williams. And I think they're trying to get another opponent for him. He could be a big star. I don't know if Andre Ward might be the best fighter, pound for pound, or soon will be, but I don't know if he's going to be a big star. And Amir Khan, maybe he'll turn into a really, really huge star. He's already a star. But, you know, you don't have, aside from Pacquiao, Mayweather, I don't want to call it a dead sport, but it's not a sport that anyone will spend money on, you know, to see on TV.
Yeah, and I, you know, I haven't been a huge fan of boxing in general, especially as of late, because really the only big names, Pacquiao and Mayweather. You notice that we're just doing musical chairs with guys, kind of just stepping in with Pacquiao and Mayweather, and
they transcend the sport.
Yes,
those two guys. You know, you have people that are not even casual fans because everyone understands a boxing match. You know, MMA, once it goes to the ground, it gets very technical. But you know, you don't really have to even be a casual fan. It's a fist fight.
Yes. I like the way you put that, David. Look at you. Making it all simple and shit. So, speaking of your boy Mayweather, what do you think about the judge denying his request to be
released home release?
Yes.
I mean, you know, I love Floyd Mayweather, but what can you say? You know, it's a jail sentence, and you know, he's not getting to train the way he wants to. You have to figure that goes with the territory. He's losing some weight. That too might go with the territory. They said he can have as much water as he wants. You know, I love Floyd Mayweather, but I don't know if I can really fault the judge for not granting the home release.
My favorite part was when he said that he said something along the lines of
he pled guilty to domestic violence.
Yes.
Right? Maybe there was more to the story, but he pled guilty to domestic violence.
And he's actually, from what I understand, he's actually lucky that they didn't tack on other charges, because if I remember correctly, one of the original charges was also was it grand theft was one of them, because he stole her cell phone, and it was you know,
that'd be a little crazy. Like Floyd Mayweather has to.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if he actually like stole it in terms of I'm taking this from you.
Yeah, charge a black guy who's multi-millionaire, charge him with grand theft. Yeah, that's the fucking system for you.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Because he took a cell phone.
Yeah,
in his name.
Valued at, of course.
Probably in his name. He probably bought the fucking
thing. He probably did. He probably did.
He's probably on his plan too.
I'm telling you.
and pay our cell phone bill while you at it, motherfucker. Yeah, I mean, boxing just really needs to. I don't know what they can do. They don't have any names other than Mayweather and Pacquiao. So, when something like this happens to one of their big stars, such a blatant, robbery.
It's not going to hurt him at all. So that's okay. Whether they do the rematch or whether he ever fights Mayweather, no one considers this a loss. And it's funny because if Marquez would have gotten the win, everyone would have considered that a win. That would have hurt Mayweather-Pacquiao. But because Pacquiao got that win, and it was controversial but not totally crazy, people will accept it as a win. But this, no one will really treat as a loss.
Who we got on the line with us right now?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thought I'd check in with you.
What's going on?
What's good, Terrence? It's been a long time.
Yeah, man. I figured I'd just jump in real quick, man. Since y'all was talking about last weekend's debacle. I agree with you, Dave, man, that it was a terrible decision. Also agree with you that Pacquiao really lost to Marquez back in November. But, when you look at it, as far as the decision and how everything played out, it brought some interest, not good interest, but it brought interest back to the sport. It was set up a rematch for the Bradley fight, and it gives boxing another pay-per-view, which they might not have had because you got to look at it, man. Mayweather and Pacquiao are the only two draws out there, so this gives Pacquiao an extra fight, and if the Mayweather fight never happens, boxing has probably 5 or 6 pay-per-views with those guys left before, Mayweather retires or if he fights again, which we know he is. But, once those two guys are gone, it's nobody left. Now, the sport, granted, will still go on, but they will not be able to, pack those buildings and have those big paydays because, as you said before, there's no fighters out there that interest you. When you got to, look at Andre Ward fight Chad Dawson, it's not something that makes you want to, watch it or DVR it. So, I mean, in the grand scope of things, this actually...
I'll always watch Andre Ward, Terrence. I'll always watch Andre Ward.
Yeah.
I'll watch Andre Ward. I love watching him fight.
Yeah, you'll watch it, but, I mean, the average fan, the average fan...
People aren't going to pay to see him. At this point, people are not going to pay to see him.
Right, and then now you see that most boxers now, they're regional fighters. You have a lot of guys overseas. They're fighting in their countries. Andre Ward, he mostly fights in Oakland. So guys are now mostly regional guys where they're not getting out to fight all across, the U.S. or all over. So it's going to be more of a regional setup where guys are just fighting in their hometowns and fighting in their backyards unless they find a draw. You're still going to have the Mexican fighters that will draw from Texas and Arizona, but you're not going to have that global icon guy like a Floyd or Pacquiao with these new crop of fighters that's out there now. So this just basically sets them up with an extra fight. But after that, man, I mean, the sport's pretty much dead because, as I've always said, man, you can line 6 heavyweights out in my backyard, man, and I wouldn't even look out to watch them fight.
Hey, what do you think about Seth Mitchell, though, in the heavyweight division?
I think he has a chance. I saw that fight at the convention center, and I saw his last fight in Atlantic City, and he looks good. But is he a draw? Will people rally around him? And that heavyweight class, man, I mean, you probably can put a couple of UFC heavyweights in boxing, and they probably can get 20 wins, man. So it's not a great boxing class out there right now in the heavyweight division, man. And like I say, man, you could put all 3 of them guys in their rows with their belts outside, and you would know who they are.
I know the Klitschko brothers. I couldn't tell them apart, but I know who they are.
You know because you follow the sport, but if you pick the average Joe...
Well, no, the only reason I know them, they're my cure for insomnia, those two.
Yeah.
Like when I can't sleep, I throw on a Klitschko fight.
And I mean, and those two guys has killed the division. They don't fight over here. I mean, when was the last time even Klitschko fought in the U.S., man? So, I mean, it would be great if Seth could beat one of those guys, but in the grand scheme of things...
Klitschko fights on at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon on HBO. Sometimes it's not even on HBO. Sometimes it's on like ESPN3. We're ESPN.
ESPN Classic. ESPN Classic. Yeah, I mean, they can't get that fight away, man. They can't get those fights away.
It's a sorry state of affairs. And
yeah, man.
This type of thing, I take your points are well taken that you have a rematch that you can promote. And Bob Arum was absolutely hilarious the way he protests too much. And I think Tommy Tohold had a really funny thing with him on his latest episode, just to plug that. But it's another black eye on the sport, and I just don't think it's a positive overall. It's not going to kill the sport. Luke's absolutely right about that. And there are benefits to the rematch, and it's out there in the news, and any publicity is good publicity, just like as long as I spell my name correctly. But this really, watching this, I watch it and I can't even believe that this was just judges fucking up. Like, these are judges that were on the take for some reason or another. Whether, people were really suspicious of Bob Arum, I'm less suspicious about that. I'm more suspicious about all the money on the fight. I really am suspicious about all that money and Pacquiao going off at 4-1 odds.
Yeah, and then you got to look at Arum represent Bradley too, and he hasn't even gave Bradley credit for the decision. So I mean, it's real fishy, how this thing going to go down. Arum is already going around saying nobody will buy this fight, so he's trying to take money out of Bradley's pocket by doing what he's doing. But I mean, it will be a rematch. It's going to sell maybe 800,000, 900,000 buys, which is around Pacquiao numbers. So I mean, it would do a good number. They would do 24/7 again. So it will sell because of the controversy. And like I say, it gives them an extra.
24/7 will be good. 24/7 will be good.
Yeah, it definitely would be good.
That would be worth watching.
Yeah, they got the plot lines already for it. So, I mean, like I say, it gives them another fight, because who was he going to fight after this? Canelo Alvarez? I mean, who was he going to fight? I mean, it's really nobody else out there, those guys to fight. I mean, you're going to, Winky Wright. I mean, who are these guys going to fight? I mean, there's nobody out there.
Alvarez is never going to be quite at that level.
Right. Not yet.
Impressive. Maybe one day he will be. And Amir Khan, the same thing.
Yeah. And Lamont Peterson, I mean, we don't even know what's going to happen with him. So
yeah, and Lamont Peterson got a really favorable hometown decision against Amir Khan, but I thought that was even more justified than what I saw Saturday night. Yeah. I was rooting against Pacquiao. I mean, I was shocked at how upset I was that Pacquiao lost. I wanted this guy to lose for a while at this point. And then he loses, and I'm really, I was horrified, actually. This was a disgrace.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how, when I heard the first score, 115-113 for Pacquiao, I was like, what the hell? I was like, and that judge was probably on the take and probably fucked up mathematically.
Well, when I heard the first score, it was like, something's not right. Because how could that guy have it 115-113 with the beating that he put on him? Now, really, he didn't knock him down. But, if you gave Bradley more than, I think you gave Bradley more than 3 rounds, you were blind. I mean, pretty much blind.
Blind or on the take.
Yeah, probably both.
Punched in the face over and over again. Pacquiao landed that left. I thought Pacquiao looked better than he has in a while, actually. I was so impressed with him.
Yeah, he was a lot better in his last fight, definitely.
Yeah, he looked really good. And I heard Bradley get the win, and Bradley was shocked. Bradley's reported to have said, I did what I could, but I just couldn't take him. And then he got the decision, and all of a sudden he's like, I won the fight.
Right.
Yep.
Won the fight.
Classic boxing.
Who are you gonna believe, the judges of your own lying eyes? They say I won.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick before we close up the show. Terrence, and I want to get your thoughts on this too. I thought it was pretty funny. It's not really news per se, but UFC on FX4 is coming up. They'll be in Jersey. It's headlined by Clay Guida versus Gray Maynard. And I'm just seeing reports now that Gray Maynard and his camp filed a written complaint to the New Jersey Athletic Commission about Clay Guida's hair. And Clay Guida has complied and will actually braid his hair for the fight. I don't think I've ever seen him braid his hair for a fight. And I think he
a bitch.
rightly uses it as a
weapon
to his advantage in a fight.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, I don't know. It's a little weird that
I wish they had actually, because I read it while we were doing the show. I wish they had actually said like what the basis for Maynard's complaint was. Like, is it a distraction?
Yes, they did say that.
If you with it.
So I can read that to you. Hold on a sec. I'm looking this up. Blah 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 blah. Clay's gonna braid his hair back. Under the unified rules of MMA, individual commissions are allowed to rule on, and this is in quotes, whether head or facial hair presents any hazard to the safety of the unarmed combatant or his opponent, or will interfere with the supervision and conduct of the contest or exhibition. So it is actually in the unified rules. And when Maynard filed it, they said that his hair could pose a distraction to their fighter, and that they thought it gave an unfair advantage to their opponent.
That's a conclusion. They didn't say why it does. They're saying it can distract him, and it's an unfair advantage. Is it an unfair advantage because it's distracting? Is Gray Maynard, does he have like attention deficit disorder or something? Like, he's the first fighter to do this, actually, right? No one's previously pulled a stunt like this.
But it has.
We've never seen. I mean, Guida bounces around a lot, and his hair's going around. But I mean, I think it's just him bouncing around the goddamn.
But I don't think this is the first.
Like getting punched in the face is a distraction. I mean,
I don't think this is the first time though that it's been brought up. I'm trying to. I think it might have even been Guida's last fight, if not the fight before that. No, because his fight before that was against Ben Henderson. Maybe it was.
I hope there are no shiny objects in the octagon during the fight.
Shiny, no squirrels, so that they're not distracted by the squirrels. Stop and just stare. Squirrel.
Maynard loses the fight due to distraction.
No, it was Anthony Pettis, I believe. Was it Anthony Pettis that?
I think it was Pettis.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
That talked about it.
I know he brought it up the
Yes.
last time about his hair being a distraction or getting in the eyes when he fights and stuff like that. We the fight.
So, I mean, I don't think that that's a completely unreasonable thing, but it is odd that somebody would actually follow through with it. I mean, it's a very strange rule.
Like, if they're going to complain about this, I don't know why people aren't complaining about, like, dude's facial hair, like, really thick beards and that kind of stuff. I figured that would garner some more complaints than anything.
Well, thus far, I mean, the beards have been pretty mountain man-y, but none of them have quite been ZZ Top just yet.
Yeah, you know what's really bad? Just a little bit. That you get in like after a day, just little ripples. Because I use that to my advantage. It sucks. It sucks. I'm telling you.
They're like new growth.
Yeah, just a little bit of growth, and you like
use it as
really
sandpaper on somebody's face.
Yeah, it's like sandpaper.
Everybody must be shaving clear down to.
How far do you want to take it? Because like people really don't like it. And
I'm sure Lady Cyborg Santos usually has a 5 o'clock shadow when she walks into the cage.
Oh my God! Oh lordy! Oh God! I hope she never hears.
And a penis she has to hide.
Oh damn, son! Damn. Let's not talk about her penis because that's just rude to talk about her penis on air. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that that Gray Maynard and his camp went through with that. Do you think that? I mean, I think it can be used to an advantage. Do we see how it could be used to an advantage? In terms of if you get on top, using it to get into your opponent's eyes and whatnot. But do you think that it will make a difference in the fight? I mean, is it that much of a distraction that it's going to be the difference between a win or a loss for somebody?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I just think maybe when they're when Clay's has a top position, the hair get in your eyes and sweat and stuff like that. But other than that, I think Maynard's just going for a psychological game by getting the hair braided up. Maybe that might take Clay out of his game during the fight. I mean, if you got to do something to get an edge in the fight, psychological before the fight, he's trying to get in his head. He won't go through a custom which rules, in the ring of, making his hair bounce up and down. So it's just a psychological thing right now, and that's all it is. When come fight time, it's just going to be up to Maynard trying to get a win and and try to avoid, not getting knocked out.
Yeah, I agree with you on there. Although I think Guida's going to have his hands full with Maynard, because I have a feeling Maynard is not going to be the most jovial opponent once fight time comes around. But it should be a good fight. I think it'll be a really good scrap between the two of them. And
it's better than the pay-per-view the next night.
It's better than the paper. Actually, Fight Metric was going to send me to the Jersey one, but because of the tight schedule...
No, please. No, someone else.
But because of the tight schedule between UFC on FX4, which is Friday, and then UFC 147, which is Saturday, they were like, we're not even going to try and fuck with that kind of... that hectic schedule of because I think essentially they would have to have two separate teams. There's no way that you could get... a team from Jersey to Brazil in the time that you need it to, with the fight.
Just be glad you're not going to Brazil for that piece of shit card.
Oh, and I was asked to go, and I was really upset that I didn't go, and now I'm not quite so upset. So
I'm pretty relieved.
I'm hoping for some Canada action. Canada, I've never been. Let's go. And then, Dave, when we get off air, you can tell me what parts of Canada marijuana is legal. All right, guys.
Vancouver's Vancouver's the place to go.
I've been there.
Oh, let me find out. Terrence is the man to talk to. Terrence says, stay
You're
on
going out to California, right, Erica?
Yes, I'll be going to
so
San
there
Jose.
You go, right there.
Yeah, I need to get my card, my medical marijuana card. I need to get that shit together, right?
I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get one, but you have to know people there that have. Like people have headaches.
Oh, yes. I'm sure I can at least find one person on the street who's
got
quote
unquote headaches. Dispensary and bring Dave back some stuff. Thanks. I'd like to try their edibles.
All right. We'll.
I think Erica has a better chance of getting approved for TRT while she's out there.
Oh, I think that's probably a good point to make, because that's not going to happen. First off, I think that's stupid to fly with stuff like that. I don't know.
I'm joking.
I don't know how people do it, but for real, I know people who do.
No, seriously, maybe do it.
So, Dave,
if they're edibles, they're not going to be able to prove it.
Dave, you'll be my lawyer when I'm arrested.
Exactly. Like it's a lollipop. They're not going to be able. They're not going to inspect that or be able to prove anything. You can fly with edibles. Trust me, I've done it.
Oh, Dave is encouraging illegal behavior.
And he's on the no-fly list now.
All right, Terrence, stay on the line with us. We're going to go ahead and close out the show. A special shout-out to John Cofer and for Vinc from Vinc Pichel for coming on the show, talking with us, shooting the shit with us. It was really great talking to him. We don't have a show this weekend. We don't have any fights, anything. There's a Titan Fighting Championship fight tonight, so... feel free to check that out.
Jorge Santiago's fighting.
Yeah, Santiago is headlining the event, so that should at least be interesting for the first two rounds. And what else? Oh yeah, follow us on Twitter at FightFansRadio.
Watch Like Water.
Watch Like Water, which I did tweet the link to. Follow us on
Facebook. Water or water?
I'm from Maryland. I'm from Maryland. We say water.
Man, I'm from Delaware.
I can't help it. I gotta say what. How do you, what?
Water?
It just seems weird to me.
Water?
I have to say water. I don't say warsh, but I do say water.
If you say any word often enough, it becomes ridiculous.
Water. Water is awesome. Okay.
And we've lost it.
Sorry. Fight Fans, Facebook.com/FightFansRadio. You can follow the show on Twitter at FanAddicts MMA. Follow Justin Cohey at Justin Cohey FFR. You can follow me at FightFan_Erica. Follow Terrence. Terrence, what's your Twitter account?
Terrence from SE.
So you follow Terrence from SE, from Southeast. And we encourage everybody to send us something saying they want David Wolf to get on Twitter, because he refuses to do it still. But we're going to make it happen. Peer pressure is going to be our best friend here.
I'm just going to set up an account for him. I'll make him a Google address. Or I'll make him a Gmail, and then I'll just make his own Twitter.
I like it. We actually have his email. Well, he has to verify it in order for them to actually start it. So yeah, we'll open up our own Gmail account, and we're gonna have our Phantom David Wolf Twitter
Fake
account.
updates from Dave all day long.
What else? Oh, we're on iTunes. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/FightFansRadio. And today I got confirmation we are now on Stitcher. So be sure to download Stitcher for your phone, whether it's an iPhone or whether it's an Android device or whether it's
a bitcher.
Don't be a bitcher. Stitcher. Download Stitcher. And we will talk to everybody next Friday. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys later.